Let's see how we like it on input level medium.
Input level medium.
Hello.
I'm working on a puzzle.
It's because we
Because
put the puzzle pieces back in the box, but we forgot to put the box out of sight.
away.
So,
Yeah, and I
It's
haven't
my
done
bad,
a puzzle in a very long time, and so what am I supposed to do? Not do it?
yeah, that would be
so.
crazy.
Yeah.
So anyway, hi. Welcome to Women in STEM.
Welcome.
Um, would you like to pick the movie?
I would love to. What's one I've seen?
Me too! Or else I'm gonna do a lot of heavy lifting.
Yeah.
We're not doing the regular game because of reasons.
Reason being that I didn't bring my jar. Oh, I haven't seen this one either. I won't.
Okay, we've seen that one.
We have.
Great.
Are we gonna do a?
I think we were gonna
Three-parter
do
with this
a three-parter, so maybe this can just be the first part.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, this is good. My heart is racing.
I'm overjoyed. Chill out.
We could have, while you paused it, thought up an
Yeah,
acronym.
I did think of that also. He just was in such a hurry for no reason, really.
Yeah, yeah.
Which
Which is, it's not usually like that, but it's
this
good.
could be the one that we say effervescent.
Shut up.
If it applies to any movie.
Okay, it's got to be, yeah,
It
absolutely.
applies to this one.
Any word apply. I've gotten into the really bad habit, and I think it started with this podcast of saying that's so RRR coded over everything. So in the movie yesterday, someone got bit by a snake. Yeah, and I was like, I grabbed Neil, and I was like pass it down the line. This is just like what happened in RRR. And all four of us were on the bench, like, did you see that? That was a
There's a
reference.
snake
That's a
in
Rajamouli reference.
I will say in the Netflix, like, they did the Wes Anderson Roald Dahl like short films.
Yeah, that I haven't seen yet, but I need to.
Yes, there is one in which there's a banded crate, and I was like, now I know all about that.
Even the English don't have an antidote for its venom.
Yeah, so so that was a similar experience. But I was like, no, Triple R came out before these.
Interesting.
How interesting. Wes pulling inspiration from Steamship Ravioli.
Well, I'm thrilled to be getting to talk about this movie.
Because, I mean,
This is
I know this is oversaid. People constantly are saying, "Oh, this is the best movie of all time," but
one might say
genuinely,
it's the Bridget Mendler of movies.
one might say that this is the Bridget Mendler of movies. This movie can do everything, and it does do everything.
And it does it perfectly.
Perfectly.
Not only does it do it in a way that The Mummy did, where you're like, oh, hell yeah, it's,
Yeah.
phenomenal, but like,
Yeah.
it's just dumb fun. It does it in a way that's cinematic, that's exquisite, that's so sincere.
Yeah. And it's like you don't even want to call it dumb fun. You're so fully, completely invested in it. Like you feel like you're there. At the end of the movie, it's like you've lived 1,000 lifetimes.
Yep.
I mean,
you've made 10 new friends.
Yeah.
I saw
And
an analysis that called RRR the my you get trapped sometimes.
Yeah.
It called it the best bad movie of the year, and I take issue with that because it's not a bad movie.
It's a bad movie. I think you're just racist in thinking that Indian movies have to be bad.
Yeah,
and
you're calling on a lot of like Tollywood film tropes and saying that it's bad. Like, the dance scenes, so it's kind of silly, right? Like, no, you take it in context.
Yeah.
The Natsu Natsu dance scene is phenomenal and kind of a fun way to poke at the colonization.
Poke at the Brits before things get real. But also, like, in a lot of other Bollywood and Tollywood films, they use dance as like a narrative device, which is fine. A lot of people do that, like in musicals, for example, and nobody ever has a problem with it when it's an American musical. But in this one specifically, it's not even that. It's literally happening. Like, if this is a canon event in real life,
they are having a
actually
dance
dancing.
battle with a scrinkly little
They're
white
at
boy.
a party. Like, of course they're dancing. They're at a party. And we haven't even thought of the acronym. We just thought ST effervescent M. So maybe we should pause and think of it.
Yeah. That's pretty natural there, don't you know?
Natural way to
Oh,
do it.
yeah.
Okay.
Welcome. Again.
We're back. We thought of our, what the letters stand for.
Mhm.
And we've also decided that we're not just doing the first act, we're doing the first half of the first act. Because there's so much to it.
Yeah. We did 5
We're
minutes
gonna
of
film
this.
a whole month of this, because we post it once a week. First half of first act, second act of first act. Second act, third act. Oh, dude. Okay, this
It's
movie.
gonna be amazing.
I hope we convert 4,000 people to this movie.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
my goal with this.
Yeah. Because some context to this. We watched this, what, 2 years ago?
We watched
year
it
ago.
a year ago.
A little over a year ago.
It came
year and
out-
a half ago.
We watched it when it came out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As soon as we could.
Yeah. The night of.
And the night that
We
it came out
waited.
on
We
Netflix.
counted down the days.
Yeah.
And it was you and I and Ian all just like I've never felt giddy excitement like that before in my life.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. We had just watched both
Bahubali.
Bahubalis
Yeah.
in like May,
Mm-hmm.
and then this came out in like July, June, end of June.
Pride Month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It came out in June, and that was an important aspect of our viewing experience. But anyway, we were already on the Rajmouli hype train because we had just finished watching both Bahubalis, and they're
Mhm.
like just so epic and so enthralling, you know.
Unbelievable.
And then we're like, hey, this director has another movie that's coming out
mm-hmm.
right now. So like, of course we had to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
And like, even having watched other Indian films, other films specifically by this director, we were blown away by this movie.
Nothing compares. Nothing at all.
I mean, there are like certain moments, like beats of the movie that I distinctly remember seeing for the first time because all three of us were like,
yeah,
shocked, unable to move, unable to speak, just like completely engrossed in this film.
Yeah. I forgot who I was for a little while. And
Yeah.
And then you come out the other side
Triumphant.
changed.
Like, it really feels like that was me.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
And then
like, you come out the other side a completely different person.
Yeah.
You're like, I have, through dangers untold and hardships unnumbered, like, I made it.
And Rajamouli, you do have power over me. Because like the funny thing about it is it kind of started as a joke of like my life is now pre RRR and post RRR.
Mm-hmm.
But genuinely that's how
It
you
kind
start
of
to
is
think
too.
about it.
Because it in a way it kind of affects how you view other things.
Yeah.
Like it has a whole new framework.
Yes, yes, yes.
A complete paradigm shift of like how I used to think about things and how I think about things now that I've been enlightened.
Yeah. Cuz it seems like you just have some like higher standards
Yeah,
for
it's a big part of it.
a narrative, for direction, and for sincerity in a film. That I think, there's 10,000 things that we can talk about and will. Like, don't worry.
With time, we will.
We'll get there. If you think in your mind, but are they going to talk about this? Yes, we will. We will.
Don't worry about it.
This
If
is all
there's
we talk to each other about.
If there's like a brief moment that we forget to mention that you could think of, congratulations. And also, like, you know, type a little comment and keep the conversation going. Because, like, so genuinely, this is one of the #1 favorite things that we have to talk about all the time.
I don't think there's been a day that goes by that I don't think about it and we don't talk about it to some extent.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's insane.
Even if it is just seeing something and being like, oh, that happened in Triple R.
Mm-hmm. Which will happen. Yeah.
And it really does, but it does, like, change the way that you view things, the way that you view media, for sure.
Yeah.
Like, I remember watching this and then going to see, like, Top Gun Maverick, which I don't think is a bad movie, And I know that a lot of people loved it, and it was really like influential in getting people back into movie theaters after like the pandemic. And I totally understand that. However, I was so bored because I was like,
We're
it's
the
not even
tigers.
the level of like grandeur and spectacle in Triple R does not compare to any other movie. So I just was like, it's fine. I mean, I know that they're really flying the planes. That's cool.
Oh, were they really flying them?
Yeah. Yeah, they had real
Oh,
planes.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
See, like, it's cool. I don't want to diss on the movie. I know a lot of people enjoyed it, and I
Yeah.
don't think it's, like, an inherently bad movie, but I just personally didn't enjoy it at all because I watched it too soon after watching Triple R, like,
Tron?
4 times in a row.
Because
know?
you watch to the end of it, and you immediately, like,
You're like,
when is
who
the next time that I can start it
Yeah, you're like,
over?
who else do I know that could watch this?
Yeah.
Like, we watched it in June once or twice it was once with Ian and then
Yep.
maybe another time.
Mhm.
And then we showed it to like Gonzo and Brian Chastity
Yep.
in the beginning of July.
Yep. Yep.
And then it just kept like
I mean, I have no long. I
showed it
cannot
to so many people.
keep track of how many times I've seen this movie because it very possibly could be in the triple digits at this point. Like that sounds like a joke, and it's not. But the thing
It's not.
is it never ever gets old. And every single person that I've ever showed it to has then gone on to show it to someone else.
Yeah.
Even if it's just the one person and they're like, yeah, that's it. But there are a few, like Grace and Hannah have shown it to like 2 or 3 of their different friends. And it just like,
So sick.
I watch it with Neil and, you know, it just, there's no energy that can match it.
In any way. And any of the like it's very like heartfelt and emotional in some moments, and it's very like it just fills you with such like a righteous rage that no other movie has really captured.
Yeah.
Like you know what it is to be like incandescently angry.
What a good phrase.
But you don't know what it is to see it on screen unless you've seen this movie. Like there's nobody else that can really do it in this way.
No one knows it like Rajamouli.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the thing is like going back to like it makes you feel emotions so powerfully, but there's also like I was saying that sense of sincerity behind the whole thing that just really sets it apart for me. You know, it's because it is fun and there are funny moments and there are heartbreaking moments and there are scary moments and you know, moments where you're screaming and
It's
you
like
don't
you've
even
never
realize this
been
noise is
over
coming from your throat.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a spectacle and an experience unlike any other. But the fact that everyone involved in the project cared about it and loved it so much really shines through. And the fact that they say, yeah, we're gonna have a guy like punch a tiger in the face and it's gonna be played completely straight.
Like blink if you miss it, you know, it's like not even
that's not even significant part of the plot. That a man punches a tiger in the face and wins?
Yeah.
But the fact that they
it's just part of the scenery of the movie.
Yeah.
Like, you don't understand how cool this movie is.
But that there's no like self-aware quips at the audience. There's no like, yeah, we know this is silly.
No,
like, we don't take it
not
too seriously.
silly.
No.
They only take it very seriously.
Yeah, and that makes you take it seriously. And this is, I think, that a problem in modern movies is that if you, as a screenwriter, as an actor, don't take your job seriously, then your audience is going to be able to tell, and they will not take it seriously either.
Yeah.
And so,
and then it's like embarrassing to say that it's your favorite movie because it's on purpose not sincere and not deep, right? Whereas like you wouldn't be embarrassed to say that Triple R is your favorite movie because it's so genuine. That everything they're doing is so real, and you're like, yeah, so it's like basically these two guys only have anime physics and everybody else is normal. Who cares?
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's what makes it so good.
I actually read an article too that was talking about that aspect in like Indian movies because it's the same thing in Bahubali where
Yeah.
Bahubali has these things and Katapa can do these things
Yeah.
and then in the second one not I almost said Viraj. Whoa. No, let's keep her out of this.
Keep my wife's name out of your
Keep it together.
Ah, man.
We're not going to be talking about that movie on this channel probably, by the way.
Probably ever.
No, I don't know if we could handle it. But Kumar Varma. And a few people can do it here and there.
Yeah.
And I read an article that was saying, there is no set logic to it. There's no Bahubali can do it because he's a demigod. Kind of, yeah, that's implied,
Yeah.
but also Ram can do it and Beam can do it because they're just normal people. And this theme of you can have that potential and you do have that potential within yourself. It's not because they are inherently special from everybody else. It's because they just care so deeply and
Yeah.
are able to make the change then. It's empowering to just the average person. And I think that's awesome because it is kind of fun to be like, oh yeah, that's,
Of course, that would never really happen in real life, but that doesn't mean that it's not worth watching in a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Flaming is cool when you
Fleming
need
is
to.
cool when it's on purpose. Yeah, that's true. Well, do you want to join us talking about Triple R?
No.
Okay, well, we're gonna do 4 episodes on it, so if you ever change your mind.
Be a guest lecturer.
Yes!
That would be
You
sick.
just pick an act and you can be guest lecturer for that act.
Has John seen it? Not John Cena.
So anyway, we open. This movie is so good because just the title sequence is super long.
Like 40 minutes.
You introduce one character, but then you have multiple scenes with this character before you move on to the rest of the title sequence. So it's like if a cold open was 20 minutes long and happened twice.
Yeah.
But that's the beginning of this movie. But don't let let not your heart be troubled.
No, because the thing is,
because it's if you look at just the runtime alone, you're like 3 hours.
it's exhausting.
I wouldn't watch it except that I know that it's so good.
This movie, and it's gotten to the point where I do compare. Like, I will not watch a movie that's longer than 2 hours unless it's on this level of RR.
Because
Because
it's
I'm
not
not gonna.
worth my time. It's not worth the
No!
extra hour unless I'm gonna weep. I'm gonna scream.
Yep.
I have
Yep.
to feel at least
The
5
entire
intense
spectrum
emotions
of human emotion.
for it to be worth my
Yeah.
time. And
Yeah.
this movie can say that.
Yeah, and that's not happen very often.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. And we should talk about the title as well.
Yes.
So the title of the movie, RRR, stands in the movie for Rise Roar Revolt, but it also was the placeholder name that they used because the director and the 2 main actors all have
They all have our names.
Mhm.
Yeah, so they're like, it's just our working title, and then they're like, let's just keep it.
What if that kind of slaps though?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
It's simple, it's elegant, it can stand for anything as long as it starts with an R. So,
yeah.
I think we take after them in that way.
You might say, whoa, comparing yourself to Rajamouli,
Yeah.
kind of a bold claim.
It's like, I know that, but,
if it's true, it's true, and we're not gonna,
you can
not
draw
say it.
inspiration from any source.
Yeah. And if I draw inspiration from any source throughout the rest of my life, it will be this movie, I think. I'm facing a really difficult situation. What should I do? Oh, help me, Ramcharan. And,
Problem solved.
Yeah. It's, I mean, you're immediately gripped, too. The first scene introduces, the driving force of the movie, which is that a girl has been kidnapped by the world's most evil British people.
British people.
That's kind of redundant. Evil British people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Within the first 5 minutes of the movie starting, the mother is smashed over the head with
with a
little log.
huge log, because she doesn't want her child to be taken away from her.
Yeah.
And they're like, "How inconvenient! We gave you money."
2 pennies, by the way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like 5
More
pieces
than
of silver
enough.
or whatever. Or, like, how much is a human life really worth?
Not a
That's
bullet.
that's one of the main questions in this movie, to be honest. It does come up a lot. Yeah, but basically the catalyst of the movie, we know that the British have been occupying this land for a while, but there's kind of a kind of a sense that there's like nothing that anybody can do about it.
Mm-hmm.
This like hopelessness, and then they kidnap this girl, and that's what starts the movie. But then you don't see what happens with that for a long time, because then we have to introduce one of the main characters who's a cop. And I know.
Boo!
I know.
Tomato.
What's so compelling about him is that he's so instantly framed as like the hero.
Yeah.
You know, like he can tackle a million guys at once
Yeah.
and win. And look sharp doing it, you know? Like,
he's the most beautiful person you've ever seen. And the fun thing about it too is because we went into this after seeing Bahubali, so and it goes way over the top, you know, like Bahubali is buried under a pile of men and then he bursts and there's bodies flying everywhere.
And he can run at like 200 miles per hour, and he has zoom in vision and probably laser vision.
He just never uses
everything
it because he likes a challenge. But with this one, it's coming from Bahubali to Triple R. There's an element of realism to it, which sounds kind of funny, but like watching
because it's not meant to be a fantasy movie, right?
No,
it's not like these dance scenes are pulling along the narrative, or like you know the swan boat scene in Bahubali. Like they're not literally flying with magic.
Right.
It's a euphemism. But in Triple R, it's real. All of these things that you see on screen, they're telling you this happened.
And it makes it so gripping because it does feel they show you how he gets out of every scrape he's in, because he's being dogpiled by 10,000 men, and he's like, okay, what if I break this one's ankle, this one's thumb, and I'm just gonna slam my stick
and there's
into
just a quick motion that knocks everybody off balance so he can get out.
So it's like very basic. Yeah, it absolutely is. And it's like there's not bodies flying everywhere willy-nilly. It just feels like it's actually happening.
Yeah.
Even if, sure, I don't think a person actually could fight up. You know what? No, I'm not going to bring up that argument again. We're not talking about, but it's not believable. If you
get over it.
Yeah, like,
learn to believe.
Suspend your disbelief. What if it was just a movie?
It's a movie, Frank.
Go watch CinemaSins. You're not welcome here.
Anyway, so it's like he's a cop, and you know that this is like British occupation, boo evil. So you're like, why do I like this guy so much? But you really like him.
Yeah.
He's so interesting.
He's immediately
like, so powerful. And because he's like framed as like the hero, the good guy that even the bad guys are kind of afraid of. It's like, ooh, cool. And we're not gonna know why he's like that for a long, long time. So don't even worry about it.
But he's so emotional. And you can tell he's got a goal that he's working toward. Because after he's been, just demolishing this crowd of thousands and thousands of people single-handedly, he doesn't get a promotion because of racism.
The real bad guy.
What if the real friend, or what if the real was the tiger we found along the way, and what if the real enemy was the racist British?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's true. That's made
always
pretty
been true.
Clear. That's always been true, and that is like one of the main themes of the movie. Yes, the bad guy is colonialism and racism. Yes, the question is, how much is a human life really worth?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's you know he's working towards something, and you don't find out, and you won't until
a long time
well into 3/4 of the movie. But
yeah. We'll see you in episode 4.
Yeah. But you're rooting for him. You don't want him. You don't want to be rooting for him.
because he's working for this like horrible regime, but you like can't help it
But
because
you,
he's so compelling and he's
so
so
there has to
emotional,
be a
and you
reason.
like
Why is he doing this?
you like him so much that you're willing to justify a lot of his behavior. Anyway, some of his
Yeah.
behavior is that he decides to go undercover to find a certain person, and that person is. And then there's another transition. See, this is our third character introduction. So you remember the little girl who was kidnapped at the beginning of the story. She has a sort of tribal leader, you could say, who will stop at nothing
Yep.
to bring her back home to her mother.
Yep.
And he is the hugest, hairiest, most barrel-chested man you've ever seen in your life.
His first scene is him pouring a pot of blood over his
Over
bare
himself.
body.
And it's like, it's such a beautiful shot. Like, when I was watching it with Whitney, she, like, you know, she's getting into it. It's only been, like, 20 minutes at this point. And it, like, the camera opens up on the lake and then, like, turns. And she's like, wow, that was a really cool shot. And, like, leaned forward a little bit. And I was like, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that was
We're
even
getting
before
into
we
it.
saw Beam at all. But he's
Yeah, you don't see he's from far away and it's kind of like rippling in the water, but it's just such a cool effect that you're like, ooh, I wonder what this is. It's intriguing immediately. And then there he is. And
biggest,
he's
hairiest man.
enormous and he's pouring blood on himself and you say, huh? And then he just starts running. And he must be related to Bahubali because he can also run upwards of 35 miles an hour.
And zoom his vision in because he can tell. Tiger. And he ducks at just the right time.
Yeah, he's
chasing.
He's trying to catch a wolf,
Mhm.
but then he ends up not catching a wolf on accident because the tiger is there.
So delectable.
And so it's such a good shot where he jumps and like spirals between the wolf and tiger. All three of them are like, whoa.
It's amazing. And then the tiger's like,
And
get
it's
out of here.
I'll be on board for this. Like, you want realism now? This is awesome.
This is all I ever want in a movie anymore. This is what I'm saying. It's like, yes, just do that. That's why I'm watching a fictional story.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's like when you're like when you're like talking with a friend or like on the playground or something, and you're like, oh yeah, and then what if this happens, right? And you're not trying to be realistic. You're trying to have a good time and like build up the story and like be the coolest person involved in the game, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of what it feels like. It's just such a big yes and.
Yes, and
It's so good, dude.
it works. Every part of
really
it works. They catch the tiger, and again, you don't know why. This is the first half of the movie. You're so confused. Not in a bad way.
Yeah, the first act does not explain anything.
Yeah, it drives me crazy.
Why is he a cop? We don't know. Why did the guy capture a tiger? We don't know.
And by the way,
by the time you get to it, you forget that he even had a tiger.
Oh yeah! 5 minutes after the tiger scene, you forget. It doesn't matter anymore.
Because 5 minutes after the tiger scene is when they meet, and these two people from two different worlds, and one of them is secretly undercover looking for the other one, but they don't know. So you're like tense the whole time because you see them growing this like budding relationship, and they become like best friends ever.
But we're not here to talk about that.
And you love them both so much, and they're such good main characters. But like at some point, something has to happen because this guy is an undercover cop trying to find the other guy, right? So like the other shoe just dropped. It's gonna happen at some point. But it just doesn't happen for like the whole first act.
So you just have to sit and wait and watch the build-up.
And it's so tense, but it's also like you want to relax into it and just see them be friends and like accomplish these fantastic goals and become,
so you watch
become beloved in the community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're the best of friends and they make such a good like duo, but they're so different. And you see that in a couple different spots, just these varying dynamics and personality traits and goals that they have between them and ways of reaching those goals. And every single one of those setups pays off later in the movie. It's so fantastic because they establish these characters beautifully in a way that makes sense, is easily like understood and simplified, but still complex. There's layers, and then later we It's all
There's such a good payoff.
yes,
It's like the end of Bahubali 2,
exactly.
where
Yeah.
he pours the fire and it's like perfect. Like the past 5.5 hours have been leading up to this moment, right? That's how it
Yeah.
feels.
Yeah.
There's even like there's longer scenes that set these things up, and then there's like a beautiful reveal later. But there's even like after the first time that they meet and they save a kid from drowning / catching on fire,
Which was the first scene.
which is the first scene that they meet. Then they have like this nice friendship montage, and every tiny clip from
minutes.
that also pays off later in the movie. Like the whole thing is foreshadowing some other like parallel thing that will happen later.
Yeah.
The writing, the cinematography, the editing, perfect.
Yeah. And it's we've talked before about being able to use subtlety and being direct in a film and when is appropriate to use both of those.
Oh, and they have both 100%. I don't know how they do that.
I mean, completely. It's insane. There are things that I didn't realize until watching the film for like, I don't know, the 50th time. And I was like,
And you're
wait
like,
a
"Oh,
minute. Wait.
Mm-hmm.
And then I called.
Yeah. Hey, have you ever
Bestie,
thought about
wake up.
this? Have you ever thought about this? And I say, oh, what? Wait, hang on. Isn't that the same? But wasn't that also that other thing? And you're like, what?
What? Yeah.
Oh, dude, it's so good.
Yeah. But there are other things that are like, if it were any other movie, any other time and place, it would be on the nose and it would be like, that's a little like
It's a
much."
little heavy-handed, maybe, but it's not.
It's not. It never is. It never is.
Yeah.
Be direct. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think what really exemplifies that balance for me is all the moments that Ram will look at Beam with like a particular look, and you think, oh no, he's gonna figure it out. And
Yeah.
it never is that.
No.
And then you don't find out until later that it's like he is reminded of something that happened in his past.
Right.
Or like, it's a very like just such a particular look that you think could be
It's
a
happening.
realization, but then it's actually something else.
Yeah. Because
I
every
mean-
time that happened the first time we were watching it, I'd grab
like,
you. I'd be
"What?
like, oh no.
Wait,
Oh no,
what?
it's happening. And
How
then
did he figure it out? And then he didn't.
he didn't. First of all,
I mean,
their friendship montage goes for so long.
yeah.
Yeah. And it's just
It's like when you're watching, I don't know if you ever feel this, but like like a chick flick from like the 90s or 2000s where like the opening credits they play like a full 5-minute long song.
Yeah.
And you just see like the guy like getting out of bed and getting dressed and walking downstairs and getting on the bus and getting off the bus. And it's like so long. It drives me crazy. I always skip those. I'm like, I know they're not doing anything important right now. They're just putting the credits at the beginning instead of the end, and I'm simply not gonna watch that.
It's
And I always skip
exhausting.
through it, and it's not even, you never miss anything important. Like, they're not
Yeah.
actually, there's no exposition.
Mhm.
It's just watching a guy, like, on the streets of New York City. Who cares? So I always skip it. But it does kind of give that same vibe in Triple R of, like, the super long credit scene that, like, it just keeps going. You think you're at the end of the song, but then there's another minute of the song. Like, it keeps going. But once again, I give it a pass because it is actually exposition, foreshadowing for later in the movie.
Yeah.
And it's fun.
It's so
They have
fun.
a much better song than in all those other movies.
Because the lyrics are like explicitly describing what's going on, and they're like,
yeah.
this is an unforeseen turn of fate.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's gonna end in
Look
bloodshed.
at this beautiful man, and they give him like 20 desirable characteristics, and they're like, and then this other man who has like 20 also desirable, but like distinctly opposite characteristics, and they're like, what could happen? Could there be a betrayal? It's so good.
It's you spend this whole time just they love each other so much. They are the best of friends, and you can tell that they have an instant connection because they use sign language to communicate that no one else understands. And this is the first time that they've ever met and never have spoken a word to each other before. But they immediately, instinctively understand each other on like a molecular level.
Yeah.
And so you get to see this relationship. I mean, just deepen and richen and grow. Ram meets Beam's family, his his undercover family, but
His
even still,
adopted family.
yeah. You can tell that they know everything about each other.
Except
for the
except for the main thing of like how we're introduced to them.
Yeah, their main goals and ambitions, which makes it so beautiful because they know each other better than probably anyone else ever has.
Yeah.
But also they don't understand anything about each other. And that's that like
it's again, you're so tense for the whole first act.
Yeah. Cause you know something's gonna happen. And the whole movie's leading up to this moment.
And you're like, oh no, not yet. Another defense that I will make of the friendship montage was that you've just had 3 really intense action-packed scenes.
One right.
So it's kind of nice to like be able to breathe a little bit and they're just singing you a song. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, what a relief. I think we should talk about the woman because Jenny, because that's another like point where they're like almost on the same page but not quite. Beam is interested in Jenny because she is close to Governor Scott who kidnapped Molly. And so he's trying to save Molly and he's like, well, Jenny seems like a kind-hearted person, so maybe she'll help me, right? And there might be like a secondary thing of like she's also pretty, but he really is like, I need to know as much information as I can so that I can save this young girl. She's like 10 years old, you know.
Yeah. Essentially his sister, his baby sister.
Right. Like, of course this is like his one motivation. This is like the number one thing that he thinks about day and night is like, how do I save this sister and like get her back to her mom? And so he's really interested in Jenny, but he just has this a disconnect because they don't speak the same language, which can be very funny at times. But
that's also a conflict that continues throughout. They never
so funny. I love it when they go to like the market. He makes a bangle that has like a hidden message from Molly, and he gives it to Jenny, and she's like, "Did you make this?" And he's like, "No. I made it."
She's like, "No, but did you make it?" And then after this, because they just don't speak the same language, she's enamored with him.
Yeah, and
she invites him to a Valentine's Day party after this,
right?
Yes, and
he's like, he's very charming. He's very handsome.
The biggest, darkest, richest brown eyes you've ever seen.
Ever.
He looks like a baby cow.
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
But also, like, he's so strong. He tackled a tiger earlier.
Yeah.
She doesn't know that, but I think she can sense it a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
Like, he's so cool. So you can tell she's really into him, and he, you know, maybe is not in love with her, maybe he is.
That's a debate for another day.
It's a debate for another day, but he does think she's a good person. And she is trapped in this situation, but if I ask for her help, then I hope that she'll help me, right?
Yeah.
Rom thinks that he's in love with Jenny because Beam has not said, I have this goal to rescue Melly because it's supposed to be a secret. And Rom hasn't said, I'm trying to find this guy who's supposed to rescue Melly because it's also
supposed to be a secret.
So he's like,
that's the thing.
So every time Beam sees Jenny, he's like, I'm one step closer to my goal. And Rom is like, oh, how's your girlfriend?
Your darling, your lover. He's not jealous either, by the way.
That would be crazy.
No, the thing is Ram is looking for this specific person that had all but told him that they were there to rescue Molly. And so Ram has a what do you call a police sketch of this guy who is Beam's
the guy that he's
friend
he saw.
Yeah. And so if Beam sees the picture, then he would know that Ram is the policeman that is after them. If Ram knows that Beam knows this guy, then he knows that this is... So the whole time, they're like barely skirting around this issue.
They just miss each other so many times. There's like a point where he's like, oh, why haven't I shown you the picture yet of the guy that I'm trying to find? And he unfurls it, and then there's like a gust of wind, and he drops it into a mud puddle, and they never bring it up again. Why is Beam never like, oh, hey, did you have like a second picture of that guy that you were talking about earlier? But it's because they're distracted by Jenny, because Ram fully believes that Beam is in love with Jenny. So he's trying to like set them up together. He's like, oh, you need to talk with Jenny for a little bit? I'll just flatten all of her
He
tires.
throws 10,000 nails on the road.
He's a little bit, he goes overboard sometimes.
Yeah. He,
But
listen, if
he
you
has
want an
good
enthusiastic
intentions, right?
wingman,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's your guy.
It's really good intentions. He's like, oh, I'll give you 3 hours alone with Jenny. And
Yeah.
Beam is like, that's not helpful for me. I don't speak English.
One might say he's overcompensating. Not me, maybe somebody else.
Maybe somebody else would have said that. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Drop a comment down below. Are they in heterosexual gay love?
Gay love. The answer is yes.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah, Jenny, and I really like her because she is just genuinely a sweet person
Yeah.
who's in she's a little naive about the situation that she's in because they're going into her house at that's another question that Beam asks as well, by the way, is,
Oh, yeah.
can I come to your house? First date,
Mm-hmm.
probably second line they've spoken to each other.
Yeah.
It's like,
can I come to your house?
can we have a tea party?
And she's like, I'm sorry, I don't understand what you're saying. Anyway, you want to come to my house?
I love them so much.
This scene is comical.
But there's a lot of scenes where it's like she's not afraid of locals and she doesn't look down on them like Governor Scott and his wife do. But it is also like, do you not understand the tension and the conflict
Yeah.
of the area that you're in?
Yeah.
It's like ignoring it isn't necessarily the best way. So you can't just say, oh, I don't know why we have all this security. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. We don't need it.
Weird. Yeah.
You absolutely do because
like-
your uncle is,
it's kidnaps
devil,
children and
but-
yeah.
And they address that as well. Like, that gets resolved later in the film.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing goes unanswered. But
Yeah, it's so good. But I love her that like she definitely comes from like, to put it lightly, a place of privilege. And she recognizes that to an extent, but I think that like in a way there's not a lot that she can do.
Right, yeah.
Right. Like if she decides to like act out against her aunt and uncle, then it's like, I don't know, they just send her back.
Right.
And she has no way to help these people or even just get to know them. It's interesting to kind of analyze her character. Like in some ways she is kind of like naive, or she just doesn't always like say or do what you think would be the right things, but then you have to think like, what choice does she really have?
Yeah.
To do like the bigger right thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think the only thing that isn't explained is how does Beam get the blueprint from her if he doesn't speak English and she doesn't speak Telugu?
Because we cannot
That's the only
emphasize
thing.
that point enough.
That's the only thing that doesn't add up in this movie is like,
The only thing that I have rattling around in my head as a possibility is that maybe she learned Telugu.
Maybe she learned because it's been a couple months.
Yeah, so maybe
she's
that was
learned a little
like
bit.
the spark that she needed to be like, okay, I'm really gonna like dive into this.
Yeah.
And so
You know what? Good for her.
You know what?
Yeah.
She's a studious queen.
Mm-hmm.
We love Jenny in this house. Like, there's not a single
In
character.
this house, we love and respect Jenny.
Jenny.
It's very true.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'll choose to believe that as well. Okay. So there we go. Problem solved. There's nothing in this movie that isn't resolved.
Nope.
The first. It's not like the climax of the first act because that's the end of the first act,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like the first peak. Is the scene Jenny invites Beam to Valentine's Day dance party.
Yes.
Beam is like, she invited me to something, I don't really know, here you go, because, he doesn't know English. Gives it to Ram, and Ram is like, this is a party for today, in an hour. I have to get you ready.
Go.
They have,
Get you ready.
they have a beautiful makeover scene,
montage.
just like how I was saying earlier, how chick flicks sometimes have a really long title sequence.
Uh-huh.
Similarly, they also often have a beautiful makeover scene, and such is the case in Triple R as well.
My favorite part about
We have
the
to get
makeover
him
scene
ready for a party, and we have to lovingly spread mousse in his hair.
and just tenderly trim the beard.
Trimmed like one
Yeah.
tiny hair out of his
The
beard.
funniest thing about this scene is I cannot tell a difference in the before and after.
He looks very similar. Yeah.
very much the same. His
It's
hair
just
is
that he's
maybe like
wearing
a little
different
bit more together. He's
clothes.
wearing a suit.
Mhm.
Maybe the beard is a little bit more put together, but like
But you really
nothing
can't
drastic,
tell. Yeah.
which is an amazing message because it's Rom saying,
It's
I mean,
not like
it's
you're gonna
pretty.
straighten her hair and take off her glasses and be like, "Wow, you're secretly beautiful."
Wow, you've been
It's none
beautiful
of that.
all
It's just like
time.
you just make his hair a little less frizzy
Yeah, you're
and
already
give him a suit and say, "Great."
darn near as perfect as we can make you. Very little that can be improved upon here. And then I love to when they see Jenny at the party and she's like, "You look amazing in your suit." And Rom says he wanted to look his best when he met you. And he's like, he certainly did not because the whole thing was Rom's idea.
I know exactly. Trust me, I speak English. I know exactly what to say. Another thing that's like similar to an anime, not just the physics and the kind of plot, but also the build of the main characters. Pure muscle.
Look, I mean, we've talked before on this channel about Rana Dagubadi as Baladeva in Bahubali.
Uh-huh.
And how he's built, as we've said 1,000 times before, like the state of Texas.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're the same size.
Yeah.
They're enormous. They're just not as what? How do you even?
They don't have like the Dorito triangle. It's just a straight barrel. They're a tree trunk.
brick.
Yeah,
A brick of meat. And they didn't overdo it on the baby oil.
yeah, that's true. They're wearing clothes
for most of it.
for
Yeah,
most of it,
yeah.
unlike Baladeva.
And they have hair, so they look like real people.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
yeah. They're massive. They're massive, and this is yeah. You have to see the movie to really get it. There's only so much that words can do to convey this image.
And it's really interesting too how like Beam, when you first see him and he's like not wearing much and he's like running through the jungle, and then the next time you see Beam he's just wearing like a kind of long,
really loose.
He does look totally different.
He does.
Like you can kind of understand why people kind of
underestimate
him because you can't tell, like he's wearing like an oversized shirt so that you can't tell that his muscles are like the size of a schoolhouse. Like, it's just huge.
And he's just such a gentle soul anyway, so he just comes off as kind of unassuming because he's just gentle.
Yeah. He doesn't have any reason to be violent until he does, and then he like really does, you know?
Yeah. And you see his breaking point and it's chilling.
Yeah.
It's really
so good.
See, the thing is I'm trying to do this, but at the same time I'm watching the movie in my head.
Yeah.
So it's
like we can't miss any important details.
Yeah, no, I can't see what I'm doing because I've got a visual
You're just doing it by braille.
Yeah.
I just gotta, for reference, we get the puzzle and then we can
Oh,
everyone
yeah.
will know. We're not just crazy, we're doing a puzzle.
Just picking at invisible spots on the table.
I can't see what I'm doing.
Yeah, so we have the dance scene.
We do.
And it's
everything you could hope for and a little bit more. I love that it's not like a dramatization, it's not like representative of another thing, it just literally is. Never fear.
Sorry, I just got some sadness.
Our dance scene is always there.
It's the best pick me up in the world.
If no one else got me, I know Triple R dancing got me. Anyway,
Rajamouli he deserves every award.
Yes.
This scene specifically.
Yeah.
Not
like,
even just the
he
rest
got
of
an
the
Academy
movie.
Award for this scene for like the song. That's great. But also, what about like a Nobel Peace Prize or something?
A Presidential Medal of Honor.
Purple Heart.
All of the above and then some. And the best part is this is still not the best part of the movie.
Right, yeah, no.
It just keeps going up.
It's again, by the time you get to the end of the movie, you like barely remember that this happened.
Yeah. But if you watch it again, and you will, you're like, oh my gosh.
Like, wait.
Yeah.
Hey, hey, they're gonna...
This is the...
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So, this is... And I drive people crazy when I watch movies with them, because I say, often, this is the best part of the movie. And I mean it
multiple
every
times in the movie.
time.
Yeah.
I'm not saying
like,
that
so
willy-nilly.
far, this is
the best part of the movie. Yeah.
And then,
really pay attention to this one.
Yeah.
And then 20 minutes later, I'll say it again. And yeah, buckle up, because I mean it again. This isn't like, this is
It's like having like an elementary school best friend and then like a high school best friend. And
right.
it's not like your elementary school best friend wasn't your best friend. It's just that now you have a different best friend.
Right.
And they're both like equally important at that time in your life.
Yeah. It's like every time I say I love you, does it mean less than it did the time before I said it?
Right. It's like,
No.
oh, but you told somebody else that you loved them. It's like, well, yeah.
Yep, and I meant it then too. Sorry, I'm filled with love and joy.
Yeah. You should try it sometime. But they're dancing in real life. Here's the
In the
thing that
movie.
actually happens. Beam learns how to dance like
Quickly.
a waltz very quickly.
True.
And he's doing great. And then Jake, yes,
Evil
Jake,
Jake.
trips him, and then is like, "Oh my gosh, you're such a klutz. So you probably don't even know how to tango. You probably didn't even know flamenco." And Beam is like, I don't speak English."
He's on the ground and this lunatic is dancing at him. But
Which is an insane thing to do, but everybody else is like, "No, hang on,
Laughing.
let him cook. Let's see what happens." Why?
by the way, Jake's first line is, and he says it in this cadence, if you're in need of a dance partner, Jennifer, you won't need to look any further.
So you know he's already the dorkiest white guy in the world.
He's got 6 hairs in his mustache, total.
Yeah.
And then Rom walks in, and it's like his
glowing.
mustache is the density of a neutron star. Everyone immediately gets sucked in the middle of the courtyard. They're like,
Hang on. Do you see something sparkling? Oh, it's his eyes from a mile away. So it's like no contest.
and they walk together because they have this power individually, but when they're combined, it's like fusion is just a cheap tactic to make Ouija stronger. But there they are in all their glory, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, we have Jake versus Beam on the ground, and
yeah.
as Beam fell, he pushed a platter into a lady. By the way, ladies
On
totally
accident.
good about it. She's like,
The lady's
"Oh,
totally fine.
okay, no, it's not a big deal at all." And Jenny's like,
She's like, "Oh, just blot it right out. No big deal."
yeah, it's whatever.
But then Jake has to make a big deal about it. Beam's on the ground because he just tripped and fell, and Jake is doing like dance steps at him, which again is not intimidating. It's weird.
Because he
Hello?
weighs 15 pounds.
Like, hello? Anyway, super weird. But then, Rom is like, "No, he doesn't know those dances, but do you know Desi Nutch?" And he's like, "No, what is that?" And it is the most, like, physically involved dance of all time.
you've ever
You
seen
use every muscle in your body
at 100%.
for 20 minutes. Anyway, so then they teach everybody at the party how to do this dance, and they're having a great time. And Jake is like,
this is disgusting. This is filthy.
yeah, and everyone's like, "But it's fun."
Specifically all the women.
Yeah, all the women are really into it, and then the men get into it because they're like, "Well, I guess it can't be that bad.
They
unless
can't
I have to
beat
show up-
us.
I have to show up these other guys who literally taught me this dance. It is like their native dance that they've known their entire life."
And it's so cute
Whatever.
too, because they don't even take him seriously as a threat. Every time Jake is like, "Whew," and he's like trying to make a really big fight out of it, and they're like, "Good job, oh, good job, you're doing so good." Everybody look at him. He's wow. They're like, "Oh, I'm so scared." Yeah, no.
Yeah.
It's way more insulting to do
Yeah.
that than to. It's like
To not even like get mad.
yeah.
But just be like, "No, but do you know this? Try it. No, try it." Oh, that was such a good try. Get wrecked,
Yeah.
Jake.
Oh, and he never saw him again. He died that day. We were playing Mario Kart yesterday. And, you have to push the go button as the 2 is fading out. And I tensed because it has a countdown before we start to record. So it goes 3, 2. You're like, I'm ready to go.
That's funny.
But there's nowhere to race here. It's just such a fun scene in isolation. But it also, again, sets up a parallel for later in the film. Because, yeah, it's just kind of fun and lighthearted. But also there's a depth there that they don't
It's like
acknowledge
these people
right
are coming
away.
to a place where they don't belong,
Mm-hmm.
taking over and destroying the culture,
Mm-hmm.
and then being like, why don't you guys know European culture? And they're like, why don't you know ours?
Yeah.
Like, that's an important issue for a lot of people in a lot of places around the world. So there
Mhm.
is that kind of depth of like the main theme, colonialism and racism, bad.
Bad. Sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the fact that they're able to do it in
Mm-hmm.
a pill that's like, oh hell yeah.
Yeah.
That I mean, to conquer such a complex subject
Yeah.
and to do it in a way that your audience can
That everyone in the
genuinely
audience is like,
enjoy the skill. And let's talk about the dancing itself. I mean, there's
yeah.
not one American actor that could do a tenth of what those guys did. And that's just like
Yeah.
their job. It is astounding. They are so in sync. It does not look real. It looks like it should be fake because no human being can actually dance that
Move
in sync
that fast
with
and that
another
coordinated
person.
with another person. But the
But
whole thing
they
is
do.
totally in sync. There's one moment where like one of the actors' feet was like slightly tilted more than the other one, so they had to edit that closer. That's the only time in the entire scene that they had to like edit the dancing at all because they're just that good.
Yeah, and they also did most of their own stunts
Mm-hmm.
for the fighting later in the movie as well.
Mhm.
Too much. It's too much.
This movie has everything. And
Yeah.
again, Tom Cruise I think is cool. And I have nothing bad to say about him. Except that he is not in Triple
Tom.
R. So it's just not as cool, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the scene ends with them defeating Jake, and he's crying and throwing up on the ground.
Yeah, he's
Um,
nibbling in the dirt like a little sad orphan boy.
and Dickens novel.
Yeah.
And then Rom and Beam are still going strong. They're like, "Oh yay, we won!" And everybody's cheering, and then they're like,
They're like, wait, hang on, we're the last men standing right now, so I have to kill you. The majority of people are like cheering for Rom, but then like Jenny is cheering for Beam, and Rom is like, oh, they're in love, I think. I have no evidence for this, I just think it. And so he sacrifices himself to let Beam win the dance battle, and so that Jenny is like, yay!
I wonder if that'll come back later in the movie.
Probably not.
Hmm.
All of these
No.
things are just random fun events with no plot, right?
Yeah, no meaning behind that
Yeah.
one. Yeah, Rom is willing to sacrifice himself for Beam. Yeah.
Interesting, yeah.
Hmm.
Anyway,
Interesting.
you know what I just thought of is that I think that we decided what the letters stand for, and then we got so excited that we were talking about Triple R that we never said.
We didn't.
I'm pretty sure that's true.
Yeah, should we do that now?
Yeah, before it's too late.
And now, so I'm gonna confess something to you.
Do you remember? Yes, it was sexy, Telugu, effervescent,
Magnificent
madness.
You're right. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, I didn't remember.
So let's try it again.
Okay.
You take, okay.
I'm ready.
Action.
Sexy,
Telugu.
Telugu.
I didn't know we were both gonna do it. Okay.
You go.
Take 3 and action. Sexy, Telugu, effervescent, madness.
That was flawless.
Yeah, we've never made a mistake.
One take.
Just like this film, actually. Fun fact.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people know it was all filmed in one day.
Yeah. And it's amazing because they do actually just grow their hair like
Yeah. They
Out
grow
and
the
back
beard
in.
and then cut the beard and then grow the beard. Yeah.
yeah.
Anytime their hair changes, he just did that. I wonder actually how
Amazing.
long it took to make.
Feels like when you're a sibling.
Yeah, like, what are you
Watching.
doing? You're like on the
Wait.
DS. You're like, dude.
They're like breathing.
Oh. They spent 320 days across 3 years. Means that for each year they did an act of the movie, just like how we're doing, but per week because the movie's already been made.
We don't have to take 3 years to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that,
Although
I
we
mean,
could, but it would be 3 solid years.
yeah.
It would be 320 straight days.
No sleep, no eating, just we died doing this. You know what that says to me is that they, it's not about the money necessarily. They're not getting it out as fast as they can
No.
to just.
They're getting it out as high quality as they can.
Yeah.
That's why they took 75 days just for certain action sequences.
Who was doing it like Rajamouli? Not one soul. By the way, I finished the puzzle.
Oh, yay.
Yeah,
Good job.
thanks. I'll take a picture of it.
Okay, thanks.
Just, I mean, I know the audience is probably. Anyway,
Thanks for watching. I don't even know
do
what
the
else to
letters at the
say.
very end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like to spice it up a little bit, keep people on their toes.